Welcome back. The Enugu state government plans to hold an investment summit to collaborate with the private sector to promote enterprise and improve economic productivity. Let's talk to the Director General of the Oganu to find out what it's all about. What is Oganu? Is it about the investment summit? Who benefits from it? And what exactly is expected outcome from this summit? The Director General of Oganu is Ike Chioke, who is also the Managing Director of Afro-Investor. Good morning to you. But in this capacity today, you are the Director General of Oganu. Could you tell us what it is all about?
Thank you, Harriet. Good morning. Oganu is a platform through which the Enugu state government wants to engage the private sector. So there could be a collaboration between government and private sector to foster stronger and inclusive economic growth and development. This was birthed out of the Economic Advisory Committee His Excellency Governor Oganu set up last year in June. I am privileged to be a member of the state's Economic Advisory Committee, and then out of a blueprint that the Economic Advisory Committee put up for the state, we determined to organize an investment summit. So I then was co-opted to become the Director General of the Investment Summit. And we've named it Oganu, which in Igbo means progress, because we want to see something that drives the progress of Enugu State in particular, but also the progress of the Southeastern State together, collectively. So that's the premise.
Tell us what it is that the government wants to showcase to the private sector, because a lot of people are thinking that you're looking at moving away from heavily relying on, federal government allocations that come into the states, which is dwindling, it's drying up.
Correct.
It's not coming in as often as you want. So you want to entice investors to come into your state. What are you offering? What's on offer for the investors to come in?
Indeed, the theme of the summit, which is scheduled for 12th to 14th of April this year, is Beyond Oil, fostering inclusive economic growth and sustainable development. From that vantage point, the state is looking at showcasing 10 industry sectors that it has: agriculture, tourism and hospitality, minerals, solid minerals, power, education, ICT, media, Nollywood, health tourism, and so on. Basically saying we have opportunities, not just in terms of you setting up new businesses, but also looking at the existing but not so operational businesses we have. Take, for instance, in tourism, the state owns Hotel Presidential, which is an abandoned property now. Perhaps an investor may want to key into that, acquire controlling shares of that building, of that company from the state, and redevelop it into a five-star hotel that it used to be back in the 70s and 80s. Same thing across the system. If you look at Ada Rice, a big rice farm that the state used to have that was operational, but now it's moribund. But if you look at education, for instance, there's a lot to be said about how you can galvanize the youth. All too quickly, people are thinking of going straight from secondary school to university, and they graduate with degrees that are still somewhat suspect, but without any jobs queuing up. There's opportunity for vocational education, training young men and women on what to do technically in many skill-based industries that are emerging today. Take the power industry, where with the deregulation of the industry, there's a need for skilled electricians, skilled men and women that can fix transformers, that can help with working on the distribution network and the power infrastructure.
What about the solid minerals? I know that Enugu is known for coal.
Correct.
Coal city is
Yes.
what it's called. And then you have a lot of investors who these days are looking into mining. So what kind of policies and framework is on ground to encourage such investors who want to bring their business to Enugu State to feel comfortable knowing that it's a friendly business environment that we're coming to work in?
Indeed, Enugu scores very highly in terms of being one of the most rated states for peace and tranquility to do business. With all the issues going on around the Southeast, you can notice that Enugu has kind of been not been named amongst the challenging states. But in particular in the solid minerals area, you note that solid minerals is sort of among the exclusive list, and it did coal. So we are working with the federal government and working with the people that own the licenses to the coal mines to say we have investors today seeking to invest in coal mining with a view to extracting the coal and using that to set up a coal-fired power plant. Indeed, we've been talking to some German companies that came here as part of the delegation of the German president a month ago to get into that. So there are so many linkages that the state has information where some private sector people may be asleep and they're sitting on the license for the mines, but they don't know that there are opportunities for investment and that collaboration. So indeed, other aspects that are important for us in the state is really how to bring the youth. There's so much unemployment in the land, and we look at agriculture, which can employ lots of people, and how do we get people to set up farms. There's a Mexican farming group that is now exporting pineapple from Enugu State. So we can invite more people to do this kind of things.
So why do we always seem to have more international investors, particularly interested in farming on our lands, and we do not have domestic investors wanting to take that plunge? We're talking about mechanizing agriculture. What is the state government going to do to let investors, whether domestic or international, see that the potential of farming in Enugu State, we've got the land for a very good arable land, and we've got enough hands, because we're trying to employ the youth to be gainfully employed and as well put food on the table. So what is the Enugu State government going to do to make investors see this? The
state indeed is driving this initiative. There are quite a lot of local investors already in Enugu. Indeed, when we are trying to attract investors to come to the summit, we're starting with our homegrown investors. So the focus will be on people like Koscharis, who have a big company, big, large commercial enterprise in the state. Juhel, for instance, the Peace Mass Transit is actually from Nsukka, the owner of Peace Mass Transit, that has 4,000 buses running around the country. So there's a focus on getting homegrown entrepreneurs, also looking at entrepreneurs and billionaires in the southeastern region and Nigeria as a whole before we think about the internationals. The summit would also allow us to hear from these guys what are the challenges and the issues they face. Compare that against the new guys, new investors who will say, these are my problems. For instance, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has set up a one-stop shop destination in Enugu where you can come in and register, and all the permits and requirements you need for a business can be given to you in one location. And they're also working on arrangements to streamline the different levies and taxes and charges you're being asked to pay from multiplicity of government agents, to make it that once you pay into one agency, that covers everybody. The state, for instance, is a partner in building, getting the first free trade zone that has been granted to the southeast, which is located around 9th Mile. And there's also a part of it at the international airport. Now, the state is working to attract investors to set up their businesses in the free trade zone. If you do that, you're privileged to get some of the tax benefits and concessions of a free trade zone if you operate your business in a free trade zone. And many investors also come in asking the state to give them land, to set up their factories. But rather they take the land already allotted to the free trade zone, which is about hectares. If you set up your business there, aside from having land, you already have tax benefits to run.
So for those companies that feel that setting up in the free trade zone is not going to be conducive for them, they want to set up outside of it, what is the government going to do with regards giving permits for land use? Not because for most states that's usually the challenge, getting enough land to do your business. So what is the government going to do about that?
Well, we have to sort of try and balance the issue. We also have in our history many people that have been granted land concessions, and 2, 3, 5 years later they haven't done anything. So we're quite concerned that we don't, too quickly give out a limited resource of the people of the state for investors that are not able to immediately set up the enterprise, So there's a balancing act. It's not everybody that needs to be in the free trade zone. Clearly, if you're in agriculture, you need hectares of land. What we'll be seeking will be to, you have to convince us that you have the financial resources and the technical expertise, either locally or internationally, to be able to key into this. So, but, everything is kind of working towards getting this investment summit, not just to be a talk show, but to be something that, drives tangible and effective commitment from the state.
So I was going to actually tackle you on that one. What is going to be different from every other? Because this is the first.
This is the first.
This is the first summit that Enugu State is going to be having, the first Enugu State Investment Summit. A lot of people are going to wonder what's going to be different. For instance, if I as a delegate come in, I would want to know how long will it take for me to get a permit for my business? Am I going to follow it? Am I going to have to pay multiple amounts of money to different organizations, which invariably still mean the same thing, coming to one channel, or am I going to come in and have a very conducive atmosphere to conduct my business?
In fact, the difference will be at the summit, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry will have an exhibition stand. You might actually be able to register your business at the summit itself. Now, other differences will include that I'm also the chairman of the state's technical committee on privatization and commercialization. In 2009, the state established a law creating the legal backing for it to commercialize or privatize its own enterprises, along which you have Hotel Presidential, Nike Lake Hotel, Ikenga Hotel, Premier Cashew, Ada Rice. The list goes on, Niger Steel, Niger Gas. These are moribund, abandoned companies sitting on large assets, often choice real estate. So it's my responsibility as well, as part of that public responsibility, to organize the presentation of these companies for investors at the summit. So the main difference between our summit and other talk shows is that when you come, there will actually be indeed opportunities for you to acquire some of these government entities and see how to work with the state to drive them forward, all with the intention of increasing internally generated revenue for the state, employing more people, increasing the tax base for the state, and hoping to drive what we're seeking for, inclusive economic growth and sustainable development.
So you're expecting a mixed bag of investors to be at that summit?
We're expecting everyone, the investors in Nigeria, foreign investors, the diplomatic community. We're reaching out to the economic attaché of all the embassies. We already have international investors operating in Enugu. We want them to showcase their business and talk about their issues and the benefits of being in Enugu. We have international partners with many Nigerian businesses. We want them to come and look at Enugu and take a second look and see that it is really pretty to be here. And indeed, roll out the red carpet for every investor that is keen on Enugu.
Okay, so to roll out the carpets for the investors, where can they go to actually register to be part of this?
We have a website that's up and running. It's called www.oganiru.com.ng. Oganiru is O-G-A-N-I-R-U, oganiru.com.ng. Once you go online, you can register. We're still working on the payment portal, but information on where you can send your checks. You can make an online transfer to the Oganu account, but by the end of this week, you should be able to actually go in immediately pay. It's 25,000 naira per delegate. It's a 10% discount if there are 5 delegates from a company. We have sponsorship opportunities for sponsors who want to have exhibitions at the event.
Okay, so which bank, if they want to do the online transfer?
It's a First Bank account. I don't have the account number on me, but it's on the website already.
Okay,
yes.
So if you're a delegate and you're interested in being part of this history-making summit, you should go to the website www.oganiru.com.ng to be part of it. But Ike, thank you so much for coming on the program. And of course, we're going to keep our eye on this. April 12 to 14 is the date. All roads lead to
Michael Okpara Square, Independence Layout, Enugu.
Fine. So we've got that down. Thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. Ike Chioke is the Director General of Oganu. It's the Enugu State Investment Summit coming up in April 12 to 14 at the Michael Okpara Square, Independence Layout, Enugu. Our Business Morning continues in just a moment. Join us again.